Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Porkys Corner. But you already know that, don't you? Because that's why you've tuned in. You've tuned in to listen to me and my pals on this channel because you're fed up of listening to rubbish that's peddled in the sport of boxing on YouTube. So you come here because you want to hear it told straight. And that's what we do. All right. Today I'm joined by Kent from Belfast in Ireland. How are you doing, Kent? You all right, mate?
Right, Porky.
Are you on, mate?
Well, last time it was on, we spoke about can boxing get any worse? That was 3 weeks ago, and it has got worse. It's getting worse by the day. By the last weekend was probably the worst weekend of boxing, and the last few weeks I have seen in over 20 years. Can it get any worse, Russell?
Yeah, it's a cesspit, isn't it? But if you say anything, you're classed as a hater or you're bitter or you're turned on people. Turned on me, he's turned on me. What it is, boxing promoters and managers, what they do, they pal people up from certain YouTube channels and they want them to push their agenda. You know, we've seen it with IFL, with Eddie Hearn. We've seen it with, other YouTubers. The Flexen, seconds out. He's pushing it with Warren. You're now trying to push it with Dennis Hobson. The level of quality, there's no quality control at the moment. The level, you've only got to look at the average losses on the opponents. It's gone down and down and down and down and down, and it's creeping down every year. And I tot it all up. It takes hours to do. And each year it's getting worse and worse and worse. And we're now at a stage now where, well, we know what we're getting served up now, don't we? We don't need to talk about it. It's that bad. But they're trying to gloss over it and paper over cracks while masquerading as licensed boxing board of control promoters. But technically, they're nothing short of white collar promoters. That's my opinion. All of them.
Yeah, even we have had the last couple of weeks we had the whole drama with Sky and the Zone and Matchroom and all that nonsense. Yeah. And we were talking about new beginnings, and the fight camp was announced, and it's absolutely terrible. There's, you know what? I'm actually going to go back and say, when I talked about Joshua Buatsi and I says I wanted to see him in a proper fight, and I mentioned like Balatas. Okay, well, he's fighting Balatas now, but really the guy's lost 5 fights, so he's only basically a domestic level fighter at best. He's only beat domestic level fighters in Britain. So he's not really a step up really for Buatsi. We've got people like Craig Richards, Anthony Yard jumping up to world level and losing at world level, but at least they have jumped up to that level. Buatsi still hasn't moved up. The 3 fight cards that he announced, there is only one British, Commonwealth and European title fight on all of them. The rest are all garbage WBA titles. It's absolute nonsense. We have got Ebony Bridges back again to sell the show against a girl with a losing record and Becca Conley. So do you actually think that is any better than the rubbish they were serving up in Sky? Or do you think it's more the same?
Hashtag game change. Yeah, Eddie's right about that. They've changed the game. It's now worse than ever.
You just have to look at the standard of the shows. There's one fight on the 3 cards. It's actually British, Commonwealth and European title fight. The rest are all worthless WBA, international, intercontinental. I'm just absolutely sick of it. And I think we need to go back to the board. And we had a long time ago that Barry Hearn was promoting WBU title fights. Frank Warren was the same. They were actually promoting WBF world title fights as well, and IBO title fights. Now, IBO at the minute are probably near enough a better title, put on better fights than some of them other organizations. But the board went crying to the promoters, crying, you just can't do this. It's hurting the British title. You need to sanction these. These are basically domestic fights. Stop using these titles because we're not going to sanction them. What's happening now, Russell? It's come back in a different form.
Can I ask you, Kent, how many British title fights were put on last year? It'd be interesting to see all you hardcores out there, a bit of homework for you. And how many have been put on in the last 10 years? I bet it's gone down.
Massively. I don't know the exact figure, Russell. I actually done a bit of research on this. And at one stage last year, Matchroom only had 2 British champions. Frank Warren actually had 6 British champions. Yeah. And at that stage, there was 4 vacant British title fights. On all your years of watching boxing, Russell, can you ever remember a British title sitting Dortmund for a period of time?
Yeah, I remember when Robin Reed fought Kenny Anderson for a British title, and Kenny Anderson failed a dope test, didn't he? And the belt were parked up for a long, long time, wasn't it? And Paul Smith fought Dodson, didn't it, for it? We're getting back to British titles. Dennis has been a promoter 24 years, and he's only had Clinton Woods and Jamie McDonnell win a British in 24 years. That's because of the influx of IBF Intercontinentals and WBC Internationals and WBC International Silvers and IBO Intercontinentals and all that. Whatever happened to, I'm turning pro because I want to win a British title. Whatever happened to that? You know the story I tell, don't you? About Bruce Woodcock. And he'd been years retired. He'd walk into a pub near where I grew up. This is in the 50s after he retired. People would stand up and clap on a Sunday dinner time. Right. Get off on your chair. The young lads at the time who were probably born in 1930 or something. Say, why? British champion just walked in. Stand up and clap. And that's what they did where I'm from. Because if you had a British title, it meant something. Henry Cooper's got 4.
Amazing.
Hey? Lonsdale belts, and each one's different, The hand painted, the Lord Lonsdale on the front. Each individual belt's different. What does it mean anymore? What does it mean?
Russell, it doesn't mean anything anymore because we were brought up. We were brought up on Boxing News, Boxing Monthly, reading about the lineage of fighters gone by that won British titles. We seen British fights every week on World of Sport. And Mickey Duff shows back in the day always had Southern area, Central area, British, Commonwealth. And you got a treat if you got a European title fight. Now what is happening is the influx of these. Now you're getting even IBF European title. Like, that's not a European title. And I'm not disrespecting anyone, but it's not a European title. You've got WBO European now. These aren't European titles. The European title is a EBU title. So what we're getting is promoters are maybe saying, well, we'll pay half the money for an intercontinental than we would for the sanction fee on a British. And it's an easy way to sell fight cards. So the casual fans now probably don't even know there is a British Commonwealth European title fight. They're just seeing all these worthless trinket belts. I go back at the time, and one of the first ever British title fights I ever seen was Neil Swain against Michael Brodie. And that's one of the
Brodie, he was good.
Unbelievable. And he went up the traditional route, British, Commonwealth, European. He made good money on them titles, and he done it the right way. He was ready when he went through domestic level, and when he got to world level, he wasn't quite world level, but he handled himself more than adequately at that level. But now, we have seen this, the matchmaking as well. There's very few matchmakers in Britain at the minute actually have the experience of matching fighters. Now it's get them 10 wins, intercontinental, couple of defenses, throw them in for a world title fight, and their career's done. under 20 fights, where if they went British, Commonwealth, European, they'd make money and they'd learn different styles of different continents. Now they don't even do that.
You know how many Commonwealth title fights Carl Froch had? I think it were 8, and he won them all. He had a Lonsdale outright, but I think he had about 8 Commonwealth fights. And that's how you learn your craft, because he couldn't get the European fight with Christian Sanavea. They kept swerving him. So they just kept staying at British and Commonwealth level and learning his craft and experiencing different styles. Do you remember when Carl Froch fought Matthew Barney?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
he were a twitch fighter, you know, very fast and that. Now, Matthew Barney, he didn't make Carl look good that night, but Carl beat him on points. It was on ITV, and him and Junior Witter fought that night on ITV. But the point I'm trying to make is that was fantastic matchmaking by Mick Hennessy, because not long after that, he ended up in Super 6 and he fought somebody who were a bit more polished, but with the same style. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Andre
Durrell,
yeah. So, whatever happened to learning your craft? Yeah, you might not get them world-class guys at that level, but you could get somebody that's next best thing, and you have to make do, don't you? You don't have to go. You don't see any trinket belts on Froch's record, do you? Not one.
No, his first was Commonwealth title fight, and it was against Charles Adamu.
Yeah,
and it was a really good fight. It was actually a Friday fight night, and I think they went to Charles Adamu because Tony Dodson at the time was in a car accident.
Yeah.
And he was British champion, so they couldn't go down that route until, I don't think Froch wanted to fight for vacant British. I think he wanted to fight Dobson because they genuinely didn't like each other. But going back to what you said there about the matchmaking, that was crafty matchmaking. They knew that was a prerequisite for Carl getting in the fight in the Super Series or Super 6, knowing that they were going to come up against a slickster like Durrell. And it was he came through it and he won. You know, it means that he can mirror that style against what he done against that fighter. That type of matchmaking's gone. You know, there isn't that depth. There's not what we see now, Russell, and what I see. Everybody's a boxer now. Everybody's a manager. Everybody's a promoter. Everybody's a strength and conditioning coach. Everybody's a boxing coach. When really you look at it, they're not. They don't have the experience and the depth knowledge that they've been in the sport. Never mind claiming to be something that they're not.
Yeah, and it's starting to worry me now, because nobody seems to be pushing. Nobody's pushing the British title fight. Conor Benn, is he going to fight for a British title?
If Conor Benn was ordered to fight Lewis Crockett for a vacant British title, he would be hiding under his bed. He'd be hiding under his bed.
Yeah,
so,
I know, yeah.
And to be honest, we spoke about this in previous videos about the British title now has been devalued and has been lost in translation. And basically, you do the numbers, Carl does the numbers. You can go back 8 years, and from Eddie Hearn has started promoting boxing. He's only promoting boxing 8 years. License holder 8 years. He's been kind of headlining 10 years. Look at the many British title fights he's put on over the years compared to Frank Warren's first 10 years, or Mickey Duff's first 10 years, or even Mick Hennessy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. And I'm starting to wonder now if the British titles kind of like the FA Cup is towards Liverpool and Chelsea, Man City and Man United, kind of what they think about it, you know?
Do you think, Russell, that the British title now is, you've got good domestic fighters out there, and maybe there's guys out there domestically that don't maybe have that name brand value or the Twitter following or the social media following, but are actually good fighters. So you've got people like Conor Benn that's getting brought up through the rankings, picking easy fights. And do you actually think that the British title now is actually, domestic levels actually classed as too dangerous for some fighters to actually fight in to get them up to world level?
Conor Benn, if he fights Crocker, like you just said there, he'll get beat. It's like Anthony Tomlinson should have fought him, shouldn't he? Dennis's new signing. Now,
Yeah.
Anthony's 13-0. He's a 29-year-old. That's an ideal fight for him, isn't it? Fight him. If you beat him, you fight for a British. Dennis didn't go that route because he wants to go the trinket route with him, which is fair enough. But Anthony, before he fought that last fight, was 12-0. He fought a guy 0-12.
That's insane.
So how can you go from being a British title eliminator, being put forward for it, to fighting a guy 0-12? So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward. But I'd like to see Anthony fight Conor Benn. I'd like to see Conor Benn in a test. I don't want to see him fighting these with 9 losses and 8 losses, and because they've been in fights where they've lost. Oh yeah, but he's been in with so and so. Yeah, but he lost. So I don't want to see Conor Benn fighting leftovers. I want to see him in with a British kid. I want to see him in with a British kid. I don't want to see him going trinket belt route. Whatever happened to the traditional route? Everybody starts messing around with it and all hell breaks loose. Gives me an ulcer.
You know, we look back even what happened with his dad. You know, his dad was brought up, you know, fed a lot of good opposition, easy opposition to build him up. Then once he jumped into a Commonwealth title fight against Michael Watson, he gets smashed to pieces. So maybe they're afraid of putting him in domestically against a fighter like that and get him beat.
Well, Nigel Benn were knocking everybody out, wanted 22-0, 22 knockouts. He got him with Watson, got beat. Then he was running around saying setbacks paved the way for comebacks. Even Muhammad Ali got beat. They were giving it all that one, wasn't it? Well, that's what Conor Benn will be giving it when he gets licked, because he's a disaster waiting to happen, you know. What they're trying to do, they're trying to bypass. Look, Conor Benn's here, right? Then you've got area level. He's about English level, yeah?
I agree.
So he's bypassed area, he's English level. He's bypassing British, fair enough. He's bypassing European. And he's saying he's world level because he's world ranked. Because Eddie lobbied in somebody's ear roll and probably up their arsehole to get him a ranking across, you know, in a couple of bodies. They're going to want a big fight, a pay-per-view fight. They will be happy with one pay-per-view to set themselves up for life. If they create a bit of controversy, they might get 2. But once he's licked, he'll come back and then he'll go for a British level. So remember this interview. Remember it.
It's that whole thing again, the trinket belt. He's got one of them worthless international belts. You win one of them and you get a ranking right away. So you're basically getting handed a ranking for nothing. It's like come and use one of our belts and you'll get a ranking right away, which you're not really earning. European level, they're talking about him fighting next for a vacant European title. No, I don't want to see a vacant title. No, we've seen recently the last lot of fights for European belts on the last matchroom few cards have been absolutely dire. They aren't European standard opposition. Yeah, no, correct. I don't want to see that. I want to see Conor Benn fight someone who is top. If he's claiming to be world level, I want to see him fight somebody in the top 15. Yeah. But why does the belt have to be vacant? Why does every belt now for a prospect coming through have to be a vacant belt, Russell? Why?
It's because it's an easy win for them, isn't it? Because they can manipulate the rankings, right, and slip people into certain positions and more or less buy the belt. If there's a guy ranked number 1 and Eddie's got a guy at number 2 and this number 1 guy is an hard fight and the belt's going to be vacant, they're not going to want that. So what they'll do, they'll ring the sanctioning body up and say, look, don't call that yet because that's a tough fight for our guy. Can you get that guy in a fight with somebody else and manipulate it so that you can bring a guy from number 8 or 9 who's an easy one? If he gets a win, can you put him in position? Or can we drag it out and time it so that we fight for a world title? And that's what they're going to do with Conor Benn. I can see it. I've been studying this game since I was a small boy. Listen, I can see what they're going to do. And now that I know how it all works, I know what they're going to do. I know how it works. I know how it works. I've seen it with my eyeballs. You watch what happens.
He will fight for a vacant, European title, beat some Spanish guy with a crop record,
Right.
and then what will happen is he'll fight another Spanish guy somewhere or whoever, and he will fight for one of those WBA regular title fights, and it will end up in pay-per-view. That's how they're going to do it, Russell.
You know why? You know why I've gone off Conor Benn? I was on Conor Benn hype train, but you know why I've gone off him? When he did that interview, and he piped up and he said, "Yeah, you know, look at me, man. I'm world ranked. I'm driving a Range Rover with heated seats." Once he said that at that press conference about heated seats, I had an XR3 years ago with heated seats. I'm going back 1992. I was 21-year-old. I had a red XR3 heated seats. So don't be giving me all that about heated seats. Heated seats has been out years. I mean, unless he's had heated seats before and they haven't worked.
He's probably got a bad case of piles now because of them. Well, to be honest, Russell, I'm going to go back to I'm from a council estate. Boxing is a working class sport. So it is. So for me, when I'm hearing some guys running around flaunting his wealth and I've got this and I've got that, fair play, he's earned it, great. But it's not really great for people watching at home who don't have much, and they're seeing this guy, you know, bigging himself up to be the big one. Why would I want to fight for him?
Conor Benn,
you know, Conor Benn was walking about fight camp, and I know you're watching, Conor. Conor Benn was walking about fight camp with two TVs on, like he was walking around with like two TVs under his arms, like he's some sort of flipping roadman killer. Conor Benn was brought up in a church in Australia, so he's not this working class gangster guy. He's far from it. He come up with silver spoon. Where did he become this real tough guy? At the start, Russell, I said in one of the videos, I actually kind of liked him. I thought he was really dedicated. I was following his channel and watching him train and stuff. And do you know what? See now, I don't watch him. I don't like him. I don't want to watch him. I think he's manufactured. I think he's hyped, and he's that stupid, and he doesn't know the business. He believes his own hype.
Yeah, he does. Right, let's go through a few of these things here. Did you know that if you say Ben Davison 3 times and you've got a camera in your hand, he appears? What do you think about the sermons at the moment? Gareth A. Davis, aka the middle class knicker sniffer, Dave Penfold Caldwell, and boxer-sized Ben Davison, aka Jim Davidson, man of the moment. What do you think about the regular sermons on IFL TV?
Okay, so at the start, people liked it. You go back, you like the numbers, Russell. I know you're a numbers man.
Yeah.
You go back to the start and you look at the numbers, and the numbers are pretty good. You go now and you look at the numbers, and they're not even a quarter. I don't really want to hear another trainer talking about other fighters. I don't think it's respectful. I don't like it. And I think they really should be focusing on their own fighters and work on their own stables. I don't want to hear their opinion because I'm sick to death of it. It's every week. We have got Davis himself, Gareth A. Davis. Gareth A. Davis is a middle class, eating schoolboy. I don't want to listen to him talk about boxing. I don't care what he says about boxing. I think he's on now criticizing Anthony Joshua. Gareth A. Davis is meant to be this amazing boxing and MMA journalist that knows everything about boxing.
Do me a favor.
Right? So, Russell, on this channel, you have been saying for over a year that the Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, saga would not happen because of the arbitration. Simple. So if you can't see that coming, and you're meant to be this guy that, oh, I was talking to him last night, and yeah, I was talking to him yesterday, and I was with him that day. I don't want to hear these lies. I don't want to hear this nonsense. And the very fact that he said that, all these crossover fights are good for boxing, KSI signing with Wasserman is good for boxing. No, it is not. It is nonsense. I don't want to see us crap. I don't want to see us rubbish anymore.
KSI signing with Sauerlands. Fucking hell.
Yeah, so
dear God, just take me now, please.
That's the whole thing coming next. So, Wasserman have got Sky dates. Who have they signed? They haven't signed any fighters. They've got Eubanks Jr., who's mimicking Roy Jones, who when he goes up a level again, he'll get smashed to pieces. So he'll not be at world level. So we're going to get more of these crap pay-per-views and crap build-ups. So he says that's good for boxing. If he says that's good for boxing, he should not be writing columns or talking about boxing ever.
Lock up your granddaughters. It's Gareth A. Davis. Hey, the original Peeping Tom. Isn't that right?
We have got Penfold as well. He's on doing life stories and stuff.
Penfold life story. Oh my God. What's he gonna do? Get violins out? Oh my God.
He was a journeyman fighter who couldn't punch, and did even win he got beat by Mickey Catwell I think Mickey Catwell beat him a couple of times, and that was it. He was a poor low level journeyman. That was it. I don't want to hear any more from him.
Yeah, Dave Caldwell won an area belt though, so we have to give him some credit.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah. So, Russell, can I ask you a question?
Ask me anything you want.
Okay, so fight camp is £750 a ticket.
Yeah.
And you get Iceland sausage rolls with it and Aldi champagne. Where is the tickets that Eddie Hearn promised the NHS? Or was Eddie Hearn just making the pandemic and the NHS about himself? Like he makes everything out to be about himself?
Well, what he did, he jumped on the trending story about the NHS. But if you remember, a few years ago when Eddie was first starting out, there was that Help for Heroes thing, weren't they, on the TV?
Yeah.
Now, Eddie were giving loads of tickets away for that. And I remember, actually, he gave me two. It was my birthday, I think, or around about that time. Or did I break my leg? I think it might have been when I broke my leg. And he said he felt sorry for me. So he said, there's some tickets for you. And I went up with my girlfriend at the time, and we had to queue Sheffield Arena for these tickets. And there were 650 quid tickets. And there were that many there, they couldn't give them away. So all that about Sheffield being a hot point for it, were Brook against Senchenko, weren't sold out, and it was still half empty arena, and he gave thousands away. So I take my hat off to him, but it looks good if you give them away because you can't sell them. So you give loads away, and it looks like you're doing good business, doesn't it? Plus you're getting brownie points with them people, and they might come and watch your show again and pay for a ticket. But the point I want to make is they're not going to give anything to NHS, are they? No.
Why say it?
Well, he's going to say we're not really back to full capacity yet, isn't he? That's what he's going to say. When he's asked, he said, well, we can't do it at the moment because we've got to get some money in, but when we're back to full capacity, they will. You see, once they're back to full arenas and they've got a show on at Liverpool Arena, it holds 10,000, and they've only done 2,000 tickets that week, they'll probably give a couple of thousand to NHS and say, you know what? We're going to not give 200, we're going to give 2,200. And that, look, listen, mate, let me tell you a story, right? I took a book of 100 tickets down to Edlington Fire Station, and I gave them 100 tickets for one of Dennis's shows. Do you know only 2 people turned up, and one of them were in the toilet, and the other one was pissed out his head. And he went home at 9:30. So the point I want to make is sometimes not everybody wants to go boxing. It's a niche sport, isn't it? It's not like Man United against Liverpool, is it? You know what I mean? Or Merseyside derby.
I remember, Russell, a lot of years back, there was a tournament in Belfast. It was an amateur tournament, and it was an England development squad. And there was a fighter, local fighter, who I was helped trained at the time, and he was fighting in the competition. And in that team, there was Joe Joyce, the heavyweight, and he was fighting on, I think it was the Sunday, because there was only 2 heavyweights there, and it was like Bulgaria, England, and like an Ulster, like select. And I was looking after the English lads for a couple of days, Joe Joyce, and taking them up the road to get sandwiches and stuff, and just keeping them right, because they didn't know where they were. And Eddie Hearn, prize fighter, was on that night, and it was a prize fighter in King's Hall that I think Eamon O'Kane won that, and I think Paul McCluskey was fighting at the end of the card and got beat by DeMarcus Corley, but we got tickets for that, and we had to wear our boxing tracksuits, and we all went and queued up, and it was a good night. So I've had free tickets of Eddie, and fair play to him for doing that. It was a good, I think John Rooney was looking after the Bulgarian lads and the England squads, but it was good of him doing that, and it was a good night and stuff. But I just don't like boxing at the minute. Everybody's latching on to a news story to get likes and get publicity. I think, why not just turn around and say, when we get back to full capacity, we'll give tickets out, not just jump on the bandwagon and do it just to get social media attention. I don't actually agree with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's going to be interesting moving forward what Eddie does with giving them tickets to them, but he'll give them. But all right then, Lewis Ritson, what next now? Does he need to change trainers, manager? Has he got the right people around him? I think he has got the right people around him, but does he need to sort of Phil Jeffries, as they knows his boxing? He's got his dad there, and he could go back to Neil Fano at any time. But do you think that he probably needs different promoters, a different change of outlook? Maybe go to Frank Warren. What do you think?
I think, Russell, you're right. I'm not gonna go. When you step up, they brought a guy in who was a world level fighter. Yeah. We didn't know anything about him. I thought Ponce was probably the best overseas fighter I have seen come in Britain in a long time, and that's excluding USAC and stuff. I thought he was world level. I thought Ritson done well to even last that duration of the fight with him. There was one stage that he unanswered 30 punches. So you can't turn around and say, yeah, blame his dad, blame his trainer, blame this, because he was in with a world level fighter. And when you lose at world level, Lewis Ritson basically is a good European standard, but the gap between European standard and world level is insane. I think he's been poorly looked after. I think he's been poorly matched. I think they created a lot of hype around Lewis Ritson when he won the British title. He was just smashing through everybody. And, the very fact that they wanted him in with Josh Taylor near enough after winning the British title outright says to me that it's matchmaking. It's promoting. I think now at the minute that because there's no capacity in stadia at all across Britain, he is a big ticket seller in Newcastle. And I think at the minute that Eddie's failed a lot in these territories. He thought he was going to get these lads in these territories and they were going to sell for him, and it hasn't quite worked out like that. And I think he's kind of been thrown in the scrap heap and thrown to the wolves a bit, Lewis Ritson. I thought the fight was hard to watch, and I think he needs a break. I think he needs a break for a while. I thought his last fight, I thought he didn't win that. He's got a lot of stick on social media about it's not his fault. I think he needs a break and think about where he's going to go in future. You know, if he goes up a weight or he goes down again, I don't know. I don't know. Like, you can't blame, you know, a lot of things are now, a lot of fighters lose a fight and they run to another trainer, then they run to another trainer, then they run to another trainer. I think that's a massive problem at the minute in boxing. I think you take a loss, you look at what happened. Yeah, he was in with a guy that he was never going to beat, but it doesn't mean you have to change camps and trainers. I think maybe a change to go over to Frank Warren would be better. I think Frank would match him a bit better and get him in the position, in a better position for him. I think as well, we've seen this before, guys who have been big ticket sellers and maybe they've had a couple of losses. Eddie doesn't care about them. He doesn't want them. He wants ticket sales.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. You're probably right on that. Billy Joe Saunders, X-rays, and Dillian White's B sample, now 2 year missing. Is Coogan asking the right questions regarding these X-rays and this B sample? Nobody's asking these people, are they?
It's all about, you said this before, it's all about getting the content in, and you can't ask, you know, they can't say this because they'll not get content. You know, content is their business and they need to get it. And with going forward now with DAZN, you know, DAZN and Sky, DAZN and Matchroom now are going to be producing their own content. They're going to be doing their own stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, other channels now have to be really careful what they say, or they will get nothing at all, because Matchroom isn't going to be using these other content providers, because they're basically doing it themselves. They've basically used them for so long, threw them onto the scrap heap, and they're going to be taking their viewership off them. That's what I see. So they won't ask them questions. They will not ask them questions at all. You know, Dillian White at one stage in his career was accusing Anthony Joshua of taking human growth hormone and taking stuff. Why all of a sudden has he went quiet saying that?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. What's good for goose is good for gander, isn't it? I suppose.
You know, it was okay for Eddie to come on and criticize Frank Warren and criticize Daniel Dubois after his fight with Joe Joyce. Why, there's no X-rays, there's no nothing, nobody knows anything. You know, they're talking about Billy Joe fighting for another world title again. You know, if you had a bad injury like that, you know, you wouldn't be able to fight for a world title again. So yeah, it's just kind of keeping it in house, keeping the promoters happy. You know, it's a viewing business, and you know now that even Gareth A. Davis is kind of turning a bit on Joshua with the whole Tyson Fury talk this week, blaming Joshua for the whole thing that not happening. So yeah, everybody keeps everybody sweet. Basically, they're keeping themselves. You've said it. They're giving themselves access.
Yeah. Callum Johnson against Joshua Boatse. Is it going to happen? Or if it doesn't happen, will he fight Lyndon Arthur and Yard at some point?
It's no chance is that fight going to happen, Russell. What? No chance. It is not going to happen.
Boatse Johnson.
Yes, no chance. You know, they were offered it twice. They offered Callum big money to take the fight, the second fight. Then they come back with an offer of less than half the money for the second fight. So that tells them they're just pricing that out. You know, if it was going to happen, Russell, and they thought that Barotzi, you know, was at that level, it would have happened now if he was good enough. If Barotzi was good enough to fight Callum Johnson, they would have had him in there in a heartbeat. He's not good enough to fight Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson has fought at world level, against one of the at the time, a guy with 100% knockout ratio.
Yeah.
So, you know, no, that's and at this stage of Buatti's career, he's fighting. We've seen that last fight. We talked about it. It was absolutely diabolical. So no, that fight's not going to happen. I think Frank is braver matching fighters. We've spoke about that. You know, the very fact that Frank has put kind of better matchups, domestic matchups on. You know, we look at Joyce and Dubois. So I don't see why not that Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard doesn't happen. I think it's a massive domestic fight. You know, Yard has kind of lost a lot of steam. He has brought in James Cook, who has been boxing. You know, James Cook was the first British fighter to win a European title and beat a young Michael Watson. So he's got a wealth of experience. We'll see how it works.
Is that a super middle, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to say
Yes.
it's not actually European, because Bruce Woodcock were a European champion at 40s from England, from Doncaster. You mean at that weight, super middle?
At that weight, yes.
Super middleweight never started till 84, did it?
84.
Well, Maurice Sutherland were the first world champion from Scotland, won it at that weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a wealth of experience. I think that Warren at the time built up a lot of hype with Yard, and he was undefeated, and they were banking on him beating Kovalev. They were banking on that for pay-per-view. He was their next big pay-per-view star, and he's took 2 losses from that. Are they cashing out Yard now against Lyndon Arthur to get Lyndon Arthur in the position? I think that fight will happen next for both fighters.
Yeah.
Because it's what you have now. There's competition now. There's the zone now that Frank Warren is going to be competing against. So he can't put these crap shows on anymore. He has to put good fighters in against good fighters, because that's the only thing that people want to see now. The pandemic's over. It's coming out of the pandemic. There's going to be people coming back. They have no excuse now not to put these fights on. No excuse.
Yeah. Okay. Ted Cheeseman. Is he becoming the forgotten man of Matchroom at the moment?
Well, yeah, Russell, because he saved him in 2 pay-per-views. You know, he saved him in exciting fights. He never is in a bad fight. You know, Terry said that before on his own podcast and on your channel, that it seems to be, we'll put a pay-per-view card on, it'll be crap, and what we'll do, we'll put Ted Cheeseman in the middle of it and he'll save the show. I think it's disappointing. I would like to see him in with a rematch with Garcia again for the European title, but that's what Addy does. Addy gets people in and uses them and gets them in the position where you know they save the show, and he kind of forgets about it. You know, Natasha Jonas is on the 2nd fight camp and she's not even in a title fight. You know, why not put Natasha Jonas in with the Chinese girl that Terry Hopper was going to fight, or even a Terry Hopper rematch?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Steffi Bull wants to go to Terry Hopper rematch, because she gets beat again, doesn't she? But she got a draw last time, didn't she?
Yeah, very, very lucky draw. But yeah, I feel for Ted Cheeseman. He has been in really, really hard fights. He has been in good fights. He's come back. He's had a couple of really good wins. You know, the Egerton fight was probably one of the fights of the year. The Metcalf fight was a really good fight as well, and he hasn't really been rewarded in any way. I thought even like a European title fight for him would have been good, but sure, new beginnings and all that. You know, new beginnings. You know, we're going to have these amazing cards, these amazing fights over the year. Every event's going to be an extravaganza. It's going to have fireworks. It's going to have sausage rolls. It's going to have Aldi champagne. Nah, I'll just sit back and wait and see what happens.
All right then. Okie dokie then. Well, listen, thank you for coming on, Ken. We've had a good 50 minutes, 45 minutes. What a shot. Get good at this.
Love it.
Thank you for coming on. Hope you're well. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll get, well, it's 22 minutes past 11. Let me see how quick I can get these out now. All right,
Top man, Russell.
I'll get them out quick as I can. I'll get somebody to send me a couple of nice thumbnails, and we'll get this video out and Richard's art. And that's me done for today now. I've got to go get... I'm going to sort some billboard designs out now.
Here, Russell, I have to say, I have to congratulate you on your podcast with Daka the other night.
Daka, yeah. He's
Daka.
Mixed.
It's brilliant. I really like Daka. I've been watching his videos for about a year now.
Yeah.
He's one of the hardest working guys on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's a real legit guy, like proper legit guy. So Daka, if you're watching, mate, keep it up. Well done to you and Mickey. It was really, really good. So
yeah,
it's good for you getting out there and getting the brand out there. So
yeah,
fair play.
Let's hope that John Fury signs a contract, because there's I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's all ready. It's just ready for John to say yes, and it's all systems go. There's some proper people behind this, and he's gone to a lot of expense, Mick. So for all them that are saying he's skint and hasn't got a penny, God, you want to see some invoices he gets from me. But you know, it's onwards and upwards. It's not cheap putting billboards up, I can assure you of that. Lawyers are under 50 quid an hour just to draw contracts up, aren't they? But it's all good stuff in it. Let's see if John can come out and say he'll fight him, or can he wait another year, or he don't want to fight him because he don't like him. Just say that, John. Just come out and say something. You don't have to get other people to come out and call Mick out and that, because that's not what this is about, is it? You and Mick at the same age. Why would Mick want to fight somebody a lot younger than him? And everybody wants to jump on bandwagon. I ain't got a problem with that. But if you remember, the actual person who called everybody out over 50, or John Fury, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and at the time, I was really excited about it. It was great.
Yeah.
You know, I watched all the videos, and at the start, I kind of didn't like Mick, but I think he's a great guy now, and I think he's funny on the channel. I see you losing the rag with him sometimes. He just comes out with so much. He's worse than me, so he is. But
it's like you.
Yeah,
it's like you answer a question and then ask yourself the same question. No, point I want to make is, I mean, somewhere along the lines, everything's got muddied. But I've got it on my computer here. Over a year ago now, John Fury put a thing out. He'll fight any man over 50. He was the one who put himself out there. Mick said, yes, please. My name's Mick. Yes, please. Since then, they agreed the fight. And since it was agreed, John decided to change that agreement and then say, get up to Manchester tomorrow. If you're not at this gym tomorrow, there's no fight. You can't just do that when they had an agreement to have a proper fight in an arena with, you know, people filming it and that. So somewhere along the lines, the goalposts got moved, but not by Mickey Theo, because I've seen alt text. So people can come out and back John, because they're probably travellers or from that environment, and go, problem with that, you're going to back your own, aren't you? But somewhere along the lines, like I just said, goalposts got moved, and then it's he said, she said. So Mick's going to stay on with it. I'm going to stay on with it backing him, because he's my pal, just like they're all John's pals. And he's just going to go full steam ahead and just keep throwing money at it. So get ready. All right? So either put up or come out and say you don't want to fight, or shut up. Well, I think I've shut John Fury up, Anna, basically. The big bully. The big bully's been shut up by the Porkmeister. All right. So peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep supporting boxing. Thanks for coming on, Ken. You're a proper bloke. Peace.
Don't have nightmares.
I won't. See you, mate.